So I was like, okay, I'm going back to my not roots, but to my other favorite weapon, which is the London system. But of course, against what should I play against Magnus's teammate, if not the London, which Magnus's favorite opening? C5, E3, Knight C6, Knight BD2, E6, C3, and there are a lot of lines here. There is the old main line with Bishop D6. There is the move what he played with Knight H5, Knight H5. There is also this move CD ED Knight H5, which is also a very much playable. But he played Knight H5, which he never played before. And this line I found quite annoying. And actually, this is why I tried to figure out something against this line, something unusual, something you don't see in the games. And I could actually remember my stuff. In my preparation, I didn't check this line at all because I was not expecting him. I thought this is also a line which you only play if you are prepared. But actually, he went for it. He went for it without any serious preparation. And I played Bishop E5, which is not the most common move. The common line is Bishop G5, F6, and Bishop H4. And black usually is taking on d4 in this moment when the bishop leaves from this diagonal, because e takes d4 is always wrong due to knight f4. And now the bishop cannot develop. In case of bishop g3, he just goes bishop d6, and now we are stuck. In order to develop the bishop, we have to give up on our bishop pair, which is probably not what we want. So here, after c takes z4, we can only take cd4, and the bishop will be super annoying on d6. And now we have this symmetrical structure. You might think that this is actually bad for black. I'm not so sure. Maybe he has to play g6 first. Maybe he has to g6 first just to stabilize the knight, because if he started bishop d6, we might have knight e5. Maybe yes. Maybe he has to play g6 first. I'm sorry. Maybe he has to play g6 first. And you might think that, okay, now we have a symmetrical structure where black just created some weaknesses. But the problem is later this knight will show up on f5, he will push g5, h5. And actually his position has a huge point. This line I found a real pain in the ass in terms of London. This line really annoyed me. And I came up with an idea. And I don't know when was it, but I could actually remember back. So I could actually reach this position with a little modifications. I put my bishop here. This is probably not the case, because I can even take with knight on e5 and then bishop b5 check. The knight is hanging. Or I can take with pawn, and now g4 is threatening. In order to save the knight, he has to play g6, but now he's giving up on some squares. We can also push e4, sometimes c4. Sometimes we just want to keep it that way, and maybe later h4 or something. So this is probably not ideal. His bishops are not super strong at the moment. So knight takes c5 is not the case. He can go f6. What exactly happened in the game? And after bishop g3, c takes d4, c takes z4. We have the very similar position compared to this, right? But the thing is, I thought this is better for us. This one. This is where you will find most of the games for this position. This is very unusual. What is my point? My point is, if he takes before we go castle short, he's just opening up the h5 for no reason. And after the bishop comes here, this bishop is completely irrelevant. We don't want this bishop. So if he goes bishop d6, after bishop d6, queen d6 and g4, we win the piece. So he cannot do that. So what annoyed me the most in this line is the bishop is getting to d6. And by this, we are actually avoiding that. But the problem is, there is one downside. The problem here is queen b6, which for some reason, I'm still not sure why. We can go rook b1. We can deal with this b2 pawn. The refutation of this idea, what I had here, is queen b6. And you really like this move. But I thought, without a preparation, he will never go this move. This is not logical. This is not what you want. And this is exactly what happened. He played g6. From now on, he can maybe put the bishop on d6 because g4 is never be the case. g7 is available for the knight. But I mean, in general, we would love to see the trade of these of the darker bishops, because I think black's better bishop is this bishop, not the light square one. So and in case he takes on g3 after a takes g3, I don't really mind losing the bishop pair, because from that point h file is getting open. Even if I'm castling short, I don't really mind the trade off of these two guys. Obviously the bishop belongs to d3 and he played bishop d7. This was, according to Edgy, this was already a mistake. Still queen b6 or knight takes g3. No, knight g3, g3. This is already not working, right? Because this is what I said. The h file is was getting open, and now all of a sudden we have a target. So he cannot do that. But according to Edgy, still queen b6. But he played bishop d7, and after a3, queen b6 is no longer available because queen b6 always met by b4. So now the queen is just getting a little bit awkward on b6. So I played a3. The point of a3 was, let's say if I move rook c1, bishop d7 had the point is knight b4. And in case we bring the bishop this way, the problem is bishop b5, and there is always this nasty check. We cannot castle because of the bishop, and now he's going to use this d3 square. This is annoying. If we move the bishop this way, he is getting a pawn. So obviously this bishop d7 had a point which is knight b4, and followed by bishop b5. Let's say rook c8, trying to get some counterplay. Obviously we go a3, just like in many cases in in exchange love. And now he played bishop e7, which had a point. Of course, he would like to castle short. He just developed his last remaining minor piece. I went castle short. I explained this thing so many occasions. So basically, the reason why I went castle short, in every line I calculated here, in every plan I pictured, castle short is always a part of them. I'm still not sure where to put the queen. I could wait until he castle short and then I castle short, just to avoid some counterplays, because maybe it's just safer if we wait his castle, because then he will not get anything in the king side, just in case. But I decided that he has nothing on the king side against my king. He didn't even try. But I'm not so sure where I want to put my king. Maybe I want to put my queen here. Maybe I want to put my queen here. Until I'm not so sure, I'm always making a move which is basically like a part of every possible plan, and it's just always the case. I'm not so sure if I want to put my rook here, because if I put my rook here after b4, he gets a5, and my a3 pawn might get weak. So I might keep my rook on a1. I'm not so sure if I want to bring my other rook to c1. So I wasn't sure. Of course, I'm going to play castle short. Now he was smart. Now he took on g3, and after e takes g3, I cannot use the h file anymore. And now I just this decision he made here, it was slightly weird for me. He played king f7. I understand that the king seems very safe for the moment. At the moment on f7, I mean, we cannot really do any harm around the king side or in the center or whatever. But I mean, later we will see why this move was wrong. I think he could just simply go castle short. The king is so much safer. Let's see, in the corner on g7. Also, the rook is one step closer. And I don't know, it's just simply safer. It's just moving out from a lot of things. You guys will see. He played king f7. Of course, I played b4. So I want to play knight b3 later. Of course, by that I want to jump on c5. Maybe creating or taking this guy down, and by getting an opposite color bishop position is not the end of the world. It's not the worst idea, because whenever we are breaking in the center with some potential e4, these guys, on what squares are these pawns are fixed, or light squares. So removing his potential defender from the light squares, that's actually not the best, not the worst idea. In order to stop knight c5, he can play b6, But from that point to any time he goes rook c8, we have bishop a6. So obviously there will be a huge fight for the c file. So it's hard to deal with this knight b3. It's actually very, very annoying to face. This is why he made the move, but almost instantly. Look at this. He was thinking 18 seconds on this a5. This is wrong. This is just simply wrong. He might prevent knight b3, knight c5, but he just gave me so much space. I think what he thought, I'm missing the darker bishops. So after I'm pushing b5, knight a7, of course I have to protect this guy. I'm pushing a4. I'm actually giving up on dark squares. Since I'm missing the darker bishop, this seemed only logical. But I think he just simply overlooked the fact that by this maneuver, he just completely paralyzed his bishop. This bishop is just basically sentenced to passivity for the entire game. I mean, obviously the only way to make this bishop a little bit more active is e5, but this is the last thing you want to do. You don't want to weaken your center. Simply you're just creating weaknesses. So he lost a lot of space on the queen side. He paralyzed his own bishop, and he basically he made his knight a little bit more passive, so it needed some time to get back. And what did he get in return? b4 square. That's it. So this is why I couldn't comprehend with this decision. So here he went knight c8. Obviously, what do we do? What do we do if we have, if we are on space advantage, and once our opponent somewhat plays the king in the middle, I play d4. I broke in the center. Of course, this is what you do once your opponent plays very, very passive, and once you see this pawn structure and you're also the weak king. But in the same time, I'm kind of opening up the position against the bishop pair, which you don't really want to do. He played bishop b4, and now actually here I went wrong. I played queen b3, which seems perfectly logical, right? We just putting some extra pressure on d5, and by that we are connecting the rooks together. We give space for the rook to bring to c1, and I had a very, very nice plan included. I just wanna improve my knight, according to the 3+1 rule, which I mentioned a lot of times, which is about improving pieces, changing the pawn structure, trading pieces, and prophylactic moves. So I was like, by this queen b3, this is a multifunctional move. In 3 moves, I'm gonna improve 3 pieces: the queen to b3, the rook to the open file, and the knight to e3, putting extra pressure on d5. If I can force him to take after bishop e4, I'm not only targeting b7 pawn by the bishop, but creating a pin, opening up the center, and against a weak king, what you want to do is just open up the center and destroy him as fast as you can. But this was actually wrong, surprisingly. So according to the principles, I did everything right. But so what I had to do according to engine, it blew my mind. I should have pushed d5. This was the last thing I thought should happen, because after f5, okay, we might close the center for our knights, where they can, knights can maneuver in close center very, very nicely. Meantime, the bishops cannot, right? Because they need diagonals. But if the diagonals are filled with pawns, of course they have no space. But the problem is, I thought I'm actually helping him out here, because his king is in the middle. He had such a bad pawn structure, and I'm actually just closing the center. This is so paradoxical, right? But this is just a slow play. It's a long-term plan. You just simply move the queen here, just pick up his center, and actually the c file is just completely irrelevant. I can just ignore it. He cannot do anything. I'm focusing on against the king now, and I'm still not sure why is this so strong. It's just it doesn't make any sense for me. E5, and I actually missed this move so many cases. For me, it was never logical, and actually he even forced me to push e5 in the worst possible moment he could ever done. We both overlooked this. We both misevaluated this e5 completely. this was the last thing I wanted to do, but this was the right plan according to engine. I was like, I have to keep everything. Oh my god, this is such a mess. So I wanted to keep everything, you know, closed. But here he went wrong. He went knight e7, which is the most logical square for the knight actually. Which is, you know, controlling over d5. I mean, and giving some extra hand in the king side. The right move was, according to Angie, was knight b6. I thought maybe the queen belongs to b6, so he's just taking a square away from b6, and from now on he cannot really stabilize as well his pawn structure. And this knight is just, what is it? It's not doing anything. I mean, it targets a4, but I'm just protecting it. It you know, controls over c4 square, but it doesn't need to be controlled over. But somehow this is better. Maybe because the queen gets here and the queen belongs to e7, but it's just hard to spot for a human eye, right? So it's, I mean, what was the real difference? But actually, knight b6 was 0.30, knight e7 was +1. Like, for real. And even against knight e7, I should have pushed d5. Not because something, you know, something concrete we have as a follow-up. Nothing. We just probably some queen again, like maybe queen d1 and move the queen back. It's just somewhat. No, I followed my plan. I thought, okay, I'm just bringing my rook to the open file, and look what we have here. What minor piece can be improved as a 3+1 rule? The knight, right? And we can put extra pressure on d5, just knight f1, knight e3, and we are happy. He played queen b6. I played knight f1. I was so I don't know, like during the game when I found this plan, I was so satisfied. I was so, you know, I was like 100% sure that I went for the right plan, but it was just wrong. Rook c8, knight e3, and after king g7 was a very smart move. He just moved the king out from this pin. And he just set up some traps. And by this king g7, he offered a draw. And you know, I can tell you, I had some deja vu feeling, because I'm pretty sure you guys, if you don't remember, you guys can still rewatch it on YouTube. So Sindarov offered me a draw. I refused it, and I lost. And I was like, okay, we shouldn't repeat this scenario. Like, but I was like, my position looks so good. My position looks so good that I was like, okay, I should definitely play on. And I was like, okay, I'm not risking anything. Even in the Sindaram game, I thought I'm not risking anything, and I managed to lose. After this king g7, I realized, okay, my position is not that good anymore. But I mean, see, I should have gone for e5, but it was not that strong because I just kind of moved my pieces to the wrong direction. But still, e5 was pretty strong. And I played queen b2. I was like, my plan was sometimes I can, you know, bring the queen to the king side. Also, I'm protecting c1 rook, and yeah, sometimes I can just make trades, and by making trades, I can somehow maybe use the c file, or let's imagine a scenario like this. I'm just showcasing, you know, we can swing the queen to h6. So my problem was I really wanted to get my queen to this diagonal, but it was never available. Our knight is blocking the way. D2 square is not available. C1 square, I mean, there is a fight for the c file, so we can't really get there. The only way to get the queen there is just protecting or just exchanging, you know, all the rooks. At first, what I overlooked, I was like, okay, maybe king g7 was a blunder, but that was actually a trap. If I take on d5, ed5, knight takes d5, the problem is not queen e6, because queen e6 would be losing by a very nasty motive is rook e1. This is what I was calculating at first. And in case of bishop takes e1, rook takes e1, queen takes d5, obviously would lose the queen. And if he moves the queen somewhere else, we can still take on e7. We have two minor pieces against the rook, and also we won a pawn. And by that, we just got a completely winning position. This rook e1 is a very nasty move. The problem is knight takes d5. And after queen takes d5, let's say bishop e6. Only possible square seems like it's e4. And after bishop f5, now we have to protect d3. And after queen e3, he's just chasing the queen somehow, maybe with this rook. And what do we do now? I was like, okay, let's just play queen b2. And here he went completely wrong again. How much time did he think here? 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Okay, he was relatively low on time. I think the right decision was just simply release the tension from the center, taking on e4, taking everything, and playing rook c8. I mean, I still, slightly better in this endgame. I might take. I mean, my plan was just to play queen c1, followed by knight g4, create some threats on a6. You can never really push f5 because it's just weakening e5 square. Just put the queen back to a1 and threatening some discover checks. So we are still better here. I'm not risking anything. So this was the main reason I refused the draw offer. But he played queen d6, and he was like, okay, if you haven't pushed d6 now, I mean e5 now, I mean you will probably not do that. But of course, I mean this was different because now after e5 he had no time to push f5 because the queen was hanging. And actually, I kind of understood the decision behind his plan. That after f takes e5, knight takes e5 was also interesting, but I didn't really see the point here. If he takes, the problem is, first of all, we cannot take with rook because of bishop a3 tricks. This was a nasty trick. In case of queen takes c1, you can just bring the rook here. I cannot move it here. Maybe queen d1. He moves the bishop back. He might have a weakness on e6, but now he could manage to open up the position for his bishop pair. He could create a weakness on d4, and all of a sudden he's controlling over the c file. Of course, we are not pushing e5 to take with a knight on e5. So obviously the point was d takes c5 here. But now we kinda gave purpose for this bishop after queen b6 because the bishop is going to c5 and creating some weaknesses. We opened up the f file for the rook, and all of a sudden he can create some stuff. So, but we had something very important here. Can you guys spot it? Why? What was a huge point behind this plan? What I did here? Oh yeah, knight g4 is obviously it was a huge point because now he cannot deal with f6 square. F6 square is just way too important, and we are not only like moving the knight out of this potential threats, but in case of rook f8, we are just blocking the rook from blocking the file from the rook. So the rook cannot create any trouble on the f file. And not even mentioning that it's just targeting d7. If the bishop cannot really go anywhere. If he goes back to e8, he's just losing the fight for the c file. So the main problem is the weak king, the weak dark squares, and also the bishop. It's just too overwhelming. He couldn't deal with that. He played rook d8, which made perfect sense because after knight f6, he wanted to play bishop e8. Of course, if he makes this move, he wants to see his rook on d8 just to protect the rook on c8. I'm a simple guy. I didn't overcomplicate things here. How would you guys play here? I took on c8. I took on c8 and played rook c1 because by that we kinda grab the file, right? Because rook takes c8 is threatening. So he either moves the rook away or taking on c1, or let's say plays bishop c5. If he takes after queen takes c1, this guy is hanging, right? So he probably has to protect. But now from now on we can swing the queen. We actually don't need the rooks to attack his king. We can also play knight g5 in some cases. So maybe we just play queen f4. I don't see how he can deal with the pressure on the king side. I was actually expecting bishop c5. It might be running into bishop takes f2. I wanted to do is rook c2, and slowly play king h2 and then queen c1. Queen c1 is still running into bishop f2, so we can play queen c1 right away, but we're not rushing anywhere. We want to play king h2 or king h1. Not so sure where the king is better. Maybe we don't want to take away this square from the knight later. Maybe king h1 and then queen c1, and then bring the queen to f4. So either grab the c file or bring the king to g5. It's going to be over. Even here after rook d8, I played rook c2, and here I was actually thinking about Furtim's idea with queen d4. This was the line. I thought at first that okay, this is rook d8 is losing on the spot because queen d4. Now the only move is taking on d4, knight d4. He has to take care of f7, bishop f7, and rook c7. But I wasn't sure because this is protected by the bishop. He goes b6, and I can chase this pawn down by rook b7, but rook c8 taking here. I don't know if I'm giving counterplay here or is just completely winning. I was like, okay, I don't want to give him this. Maybe this is winning. According to you, this was completely winning. Queen d4 was like +3, but what I did, it was also completely winning. So it was. I thought here I'm giving him chances. What happened in the game, I didn't give any chance. So I played rook c2. From now on, and okay, as I said, we want to see the queen here, or we want to grab the c file in the same time. How can we do that? Rook c2 and queen c1. Now, obviously, I mean, he can't deal with this rook c7. I mean, there is no way. Also, he can't deal with queen c1. He played bishop f7. Obviously, I played queen c1. Now queen g5 and knight g4. Too many threats on a6. So he played a6 himself and rook c7. So knight e7 was a threat now, and moving the because now the queen gonna go back. So he played bishop a3. He tried to force my queen from this diagonal because I cannot move it here. The rook is hanging. So you probably have to. How would you play here? First of all, the queen x3 was best, but here I didn't find the best way. Here, of course, black wants to play queen d8 and tries to eliminate the queen from the picture. And here I just okay. Can you guys spot the straightforward win here? Knight h5 was winning on the spot. G8, queen f6 check, king g8, and queen h6. And the regular mate is threatening, and in case of queen c7, just knight g5. And yeah, I calculated knight g4 like way earlier. So this was a line I wanted to go for. I calculated everything that this is winning. So I was like, okay. I didn't trust my calculation in knight h5 if I missed something. I saw everything basically. Here I spent a lot of time, not a lot of time, but some time. So and here of course queen f6 was my plan. He has to take, and by this trade we actually create such a strong pass pawn. This was a huge point. Now the rook cannot cannot really leave. Actually he left, but that just led to a completely lost position. So this pawn from now on, this is going to be a permanent threat. But sometimes we had to be careful. He went king h7. Anywhere else he goes, we just take h6. Let's say he goes king f8, we just take h6. Knight is getting to e5, and we are targeting f7. Now I went knight g5. Now f7 is hanging. He went king g8. In case of rook f8, now bishop e8 is threatening by taking on f6. But here I found this very interesting move, and probably easily winning move. G4. Now we are just pushing g5. Let's say bishop e8, just g5, and that's also GG. I mean, he cannot handle with this pawn structure. If he takes, just take. And here I saw this very nice knight takes c6, rook f6, knight g4, and we are winning the rook. He can't even win the knight back because we are taking these squares away. So if he takes on a4, we just take on g6, and it's also GG. So he decided to play king g8, and here I calculated, of course, line how much time I spent here, like 7 minutes, but it was easy to calculate. I took on g6. The only line I had to really take seriously is not he played rook c1 check, but it was just losing on a spot. Is bishop takes g6, bishop takes g6, b5. And now what I said is rook against minor pieces combined with a pass pawn, it's always super dangerous. But we also have a pass pawn which is super dangerous. So now we don't lose time by taking on b5. We play knight d4. This is very important. B takes a4, knight takes c6, a3, f7, king h8, and bishop b1. He played rook c1, check, king h2, and he played rook a1. And okay, I didn't complicate things here. I calculated and I found a very, very straightforward plan, which was knight f5. In case he takes on a4, I wanted to go knight e7 check, king f8, and bishop g6. And by eliminating this bishop from here, he cannot stop f7, because if he takes, we just take knight g6 and next move f7 and f8. The rook cannot really defend from the f-file. There are no squares for that. If he leaves the bishop here, we just simply take. That's easy. If he goes here, we just take and knight g6. Same idea with f7. So he couldn't take on a4 after knight f5. But if he cannot take on a4, he cannot create a pass pawn, because b5 we always take with bishop or with pawn. Doesn't really matter. I mean, just simply winning. He went through e1. Of course, I protected with f4. He played bishop e8. He wanted to set up, you know, a trap. That was actually a trap which didn't work, but I thought this is his plan. So in case of knight e7, king f8, and in case of bishop b5, with the same idea of chasing the bishop down, if we take, let's say if he just makes a random move with takes and knight g6 again with f7. This is the main point, eliminating the bishop from e8. But what I calculated, I wasn't sure if rook takes e5, whoops, rook takes e5, f takes e5, bishop b5, a b5, a4. What's up with this one? Because I mean, who will stop this guy? And I cannot promote my pawn, but actually it's easily winning. It turned out. I didn't see this, but I didn't even spend so much time. Once I saw this line, I'm like, oh, no way, I'm not going to go for this. If I can also blunder here, but knight c6 is just winning. In case of a3, we catch the pawn. If he takes, we will promote with check. So this line was winning. This was his last threat, but even this was not working. But of course, I didn't want to give him chance for that. So I played g4. I mean, later we can also push, you know, g5, and then after f g a g, you know, we are creating two passers, and there is no way he can deal with that. We played rook e3. Of course, g5 would be a mistake because we are losing a piece here. I was super safe here, so I didn't want to give him any chance after king g1. I brought the king here, provoking d4, and you will see what happened after. So he played d4, king f2, b6. Basically, his rook is just trapped. I played knight e7, king f8. Now that he pushed d4, bishop c4 became available. And now we just want to take on e6, and then knight g6 and f7, and goodbye. He played rook e4. Of course, I'm protecting my guy. g3, bishop f7. And now I was thinking, should I win a game like this and taking on d4, trapping his rook, or I should just play bishop g6 and end the game here. And of course, he still played on. He played b5, and after bishop f7, he resigned.